Hello and welcome back, my wonderful friends. Today on Dr. Alicia's Med Talk, we're taking a deep dive into the mysterious, fascinating, and sometimes downright surprising world of the human mind. There's still so much we're learning about the way our brains work, from how habits form, to the strange connection between our emotions and our physical body, to the incredible yet invisible ways our subconscious shapes our everyday lives. So, get comfortable, because we're about to explore some remarkable psychological insights that may just change the way you see yourself and those around you. Let's begin with a fact about habits, those little routines that seem automatic but are actually quite powerful. A 2009 study from University College London found that it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit. Although the timeline can vary from as little as 18 days to as long as 254, depending on the individual and the behavior. That means if you're trying to eat healthier, wake up earlier, or exercise more consistently, don't lose hope, just give your brain time to adjust. Speaking of our brains, did you know that our minds wander about 30% of the time during the day? That number skyrockets to as much as 70% when we're doing something passive, like driving down a quiet road. It's not that we're being irresponsible, that our brains are constantly seeking stimulation and distraction. And while daydreaming can inspire creativity, too much of it can make us miss the details right in front of us. Overthinking, for example, is a trap many fall into. While thinking critically is healthy, chronic overthinking, especially about negative situations, can be mentally exhausting and even lead to depression or anxiety. It's a form of mental rumination that loops endlessly and impacts our well-being. The solution: mindfulness techniques, distraction with purposeful tasks, or talking things out with a friend or therapist. Now, here's a fun psychological twist: food actually tastes better when someone else makes it. Why? Because your expectations are lower when you didn't prepare it yourself. You aren't bracing for disappointment or judging your own skills. So when the sandwich turns out to be delicious, the surprise enhances the pleasure. Fascinating, right? But here's something a little less fun: preservatives may not just harm your body, they might impact your brain too. A 2021 study from Southampton University looked into how sugary and highly processed breakfasts affected children between the ages of 6 and 12, and found a potential 14% boost in IQ among those who ate healthier breakfasts. That's a reminder that nutrition truly starts young, and it shapes not only the body but the developing mind. Let's now talk about something many don't realize until it hits hard: loneliness. Enjoying your own company is great, but isolation can be dangerous. Chronic loneliness has been linked to depression, sleep disturbances, and cognitive decline. And ironically, in this hyper-connected world, social media can amplify loneliness rather than fix it. Human connection is vital. It nurtures the brain, lifts the mood, and keeps our psychological health in balance. Strangely enough, being in positions of great authority or power can actually damage the brain. A 2017 study by Professor Dr. Keltner at UC Berkeley revealed that those in high-power positions can experience a reduction in empathy and social awareness traits essential for ethical leadership. That's a sobering reminder of why humility, connection, and groundedness are crucial no matter how successful you become. Now let's switch gears to something you wouldn't expect: longer lines of text are read faster than shorter ones. Yes, it sounds counterintuitive, but a 2004 study by N.C. Dyson found that people actually process 100-character-long lines faster than short bursts. It may be because longer lines offer a rhythm and flow our eyes can more easily follow, especially on screens. When it comes to friends, it turns out our brains have a natural limit. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar proposed Dunbar's number in the late 20th century, which suggests that we can maintain meaningful social relationships with a maximum of 150 people. This number is rooted in the size and capabilities of our neocortex. So, if you've ever felt like you just can't keep up with more than a certain number of people, you're not being your brain has just hit its limit. On the subject of emotions, think of this: emotional pain can mimic physical pain. When you're heartbroken or stressed, your brain interprets that distress through physical sensations. It might show up as headaches, muscle tension, or even joint pain. That's how deeply interconnected our mental and physical systems truly are. So when you're hurting emotionally, your body takes the hit too, sometimes in silent ways. And if you're trying to remember something, whether it's a grocery list or a movie you saw recently, you might struggle to recall the middle parts. That's because of something called the serial position effect. Our brains tend to remember the beginning and the end of a sequence better than the middle. It's why we often forget the second act of a film but can clearly remember the opening scene and the final twist. Did you know your emotions also change the cells in your body? Yes, cells can literally feel your feelings. When you're angry or afraid, your brain releases neuropeptides, chemical messengers that attach to cell receptors and modify the behavior of those cells. Over time, if you're consistently stressed or angry, you're literally programming your cells to react in certain ways. It's like spreading negativity throughout your body without even realizing it. Even more fascinating is the idea that we can be manipulated into thinking we committed a crime we didn't actually do. A 2015 study demonstrated that false memories can be implanted under pressure, especially in situations like police interrogations. It's a chilling reminder of how vulnerable the human mind can be under stress. Even more startling, 95% of our daily decisions are made subconsciously. That means most of what you choose to eat, buy, say, or do is influenced by automatic brain processes rather than conscious thought. It's why you might go online to order socks and end up with 5 kitchen gadgets and a subscription box instead. Now, if you're struggling to stay focused at work, consider painting your workspace blue. A 2006 study found that blue is associated with calmness, serenity, and productivity. While often associated with sadness in poetry and music, in psychology, it may actually be one of the most helpful colors for mental clarity. Let's rewind the clock and look at chromosomes. These thread-like structures inside our cells carry the genetic instructions that shape our development, behavior, and even emotions. Early genetic research used fruit flies to prove the chromosome theory of inheritance. That's right, tiny insects helped us decode human behavior. And it turns out dopamine, often labeled the pleasure chemical, does more than make us feel good. It's involved in motivation, curiosity, and learning. Far from making us lazy, it may be the reason we chase new experiences and ideas. Your dog's personality might reflect your own more than you realize. A 2012 study suggested that aggressive people are more likely to choose aggressive dog breeds. That doesn't mean the dog is naturally mean, it may be mirroring the environment it's raised in. Now let's talk about the 7-year itch. This isn't just a phrase from an old movie, it's a real psychological phenomenon where relationships tend to struggle around the 7-year mark. While it's not fully understood, long-term bonds often require renewal, growth, and conscious effort to keep the connection strong. Then there's the topic of internet addiction. While the jury's still out on whether it qualifies as a formal psychiatric condition, research shows that excessive internet use can be linked to depression and obsessive-compulsive behavior. The non-stop scroll, likes, and notifications can overstimulate the brain and create dependency-like symptoms. Staying busy isn't always a bad thing though. Having structure in your day, even if it's not packed with obligations, can lead to greater happiness and well-being. What matters is discretionary time where you're free to do what you want, not what you must. Experts suggest around 2 to 9.5 hours a day of such time is ideal. That may sound like a luxury, but even short breaks and mindful rest can recharge your mental battery. Have you ever believed something about someone and then watched it come true? That's the power of the self-fulfilling prophecy. Our expectations shape our interactions, and over time, they can actually influence another person's behavior. So when you expect failure or conflict, you may inadvertently trigger it. Cognitive biases like this show up in other areas, too, like the sunk cost fallacy. Ever kept investing time, money, or energy into something simply because you've already invested so much, even if it's clearly not working out? That's the fallacy at work, urging us to continue rather than cut our losses. It's one more example of how our brains aren't always rational. Speaking of control, it turns out we often believe we have more control over situations than we actually do. This illusion of control helps us feel safe, but it can also make us blind to how much of life is influenced by external forces or chance. Lastly, let's talk about mirror neurons. Discovered in monkeys in the 1990s, these special brain cells fire both when we perform an action and when we see someone else perform it. That might explain why we yawn when someone else yawns, or why we feel empathy just by watching someone in pain. Mirror neurons could be one of the key mechanisms behind how we learn, imitate, and connect emotionally with others. They may even be the reason babies learn by watching their parents, and why culture, language, and compassion are shared so effectively across generations. And there you have it, an incredible journey through the mind and its fascinating behaviors. From the tiniest of chemical messengers to the largest patterns of human interaction, our brains are doing a lot behind the scenes. and the more we learn about them, the better we understand ourselves and each other. Thank you for joining me here at Dr. Alicia's Med Talk, where your health, mental, physical, and emotional is always the priority. Stay curious, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next episode.